I would like to thank the presenters. I have 3 questions. What's the motivating thing that is driving you to do the kind of research that you're doing? What's motivating you? What are you seeing at the horizon? 2. Dr. Wekesa, I like your piece of work because mycotoxicology, the study of aflatoxins in particular, is one of my key areas of research interests. But in your study, I wanted to know, how are you going to account for the synergistic effects where I'm a smoker, I'm exposed to diet which is highly contaminated with aflatoxins. Maybe I'm on ARVs, I'm HIV positive, and maybe in addition to ARVs, I also go ahead and take herbal remedies. That synergistic effect, how are you going to account for that? Then okay, yeah, that's it. Then also for Doctor, thank you. Your study is also amazing. One question. One of your parting shots, you said, as far as you're concerned, no similar studies being undertaken in sub-Saharan Africa. Your scope is small. Because, yes, it may not interest people in sub-Saharan Africa, but that's not where the money is. The money is outside sub-Saharan Africa. So, in a nutshell, all your research, how many of you have viewed existing maybe patent documents to check as reference points? Because one, I would imagine you'd be interested in coming up with new outputs, research outputs, that maybe can have some good significant change in the medical or health kind of frontiers. So patent information as a key component for referencing. How many of you have gone ahead to use that? And second, I realize much of research is mainly on the issue of you're collaborating. You mentioned someone I think in the US, someone I think in the UK, something like that. So I really don't know, because what happens to the IP that emerge? Are you going to be a co-inventor, or you are funded and it ends there? What happens? Thank you.
I'll add one more questioner for the answers.
Thank you very much for the presentations. Joseph Atujamisha, my name is from Makari University College of Health Sciences. 2 questions. 1 to Dina Mangin. It's the interesting part that the age of first birth, the decline is mainly below those who are 18 years. You mentioned something a little bit about education and kind of skipped it, didn't come out clearly, but it's an area you have to interrogate very well, because members, I'm talking from an academic point of view, not political, but could it be that the education that has started, like UP, is the one which is having an impact, and USP? The reason why I'm saying that is that the best pill, the best contraception is not the pill or injection, it is education. So we need to look at it from that angle. Please interrogate it very well, because this could give us answers on how we can reduce these pregnancies in adolescents. Second one to Michael Mokashaki, it is the issue to do with the fertility and the HIV. One of the when we were doing some research recently, we noted that the issue of change of partner is very critical. I didn't see it very well in your conceptual framework. Because change of partner or husband may be related to seroconversion, HIV seroconversion, and you find that this new partner, the lady will say, I must have children for the new person. And this has plans in how, whether somebody will use family planning or not. So it is something as you analyze, you need to make sure it comes out clearly in your study. Thank you.
I will let the speakers answer before another round of questions.
Thank you very much. On the question of motivation, my own motivation for specifically doing work in breast cancer was because I was working on a breast cancer unit in Monaco. And all the time, the things that were in the books and the things that were seeing on the wall, there was a big disparity. And that was one of the motivation of saying, okay, let's generate some context-specific data. And before long, I came across a recommendation from WHO that was actually saying exactly that we can only extrapolate data to an extent. We can't be using data from other populations all the time for our population. And guess what? The disparities that have been unearthed by other people and even the PhD work done confirms that we need our own data. On the patents thing, the only thing I can say is this morning session was very, 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 very positive. And I think we're going to take some of the things and be careful what we say, how we negotiate. Like one of the things I've been saying about the community engagement, we're in the process of developing an app, a breast app, to raise awareness. So as those things were being said, I was sitting a bit uneasy in my seat about the things that have been done about copyright, trademark, patents.
Good afternoon. So for this presentation, I mainly focused on training of health providers, but my core PhD work is on use of misoprostol in treating ectopic second trimester abortions. So why abortion? Because it's a problem globally and regionally and here within our country. And I'm sure among the ladies and gentlemen who are seated in this room, if you talk about abortion, everyone is taken aback because they either have seen someone who has suffered from these complications or have heard of the same. So hence so I am a gynecologist. I see women and girls dying every day from abortion, and if it's something that can be prevented, and this can be averted. So why the second trimester? We've done, or a lot of work has been done, and I've participated in doing research in managing, in treating women who come in with miscarriages in the first 3 months of pregnancy. However, in the second 3 months, the treatment is mainly surgical. And WHO is telling us that the methods we're using are crude and outdated. However, in our country, we don't have an option. The policy does not give us an option. Hence, studying a medical treatment that can be used whether you're in a hospital or a health center and that can be provided by either doctor or midwife. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I had one question which was specifically to me. Although I don't know about what motivated me to do a piece of work. I don't know whether this is for all of us or for someone. I will attempt to the one which was specific for me. In investigating the association between fertility and HIV, someone from Makerere pointed out that change of partner is one of the factors need to be factored in. I think I'll take this opportunity to thank you for this information because I'm in the process of creating a spec and they want to know which actually is the variable to put in the spec. And I agree with you. I'm going to work on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm being pushed to answer what the motivation behind my research. Personally, I am dyslexic, so learning something new has always been a challenge. But HIV is hugely over-researched, and we have a system of training our practitioner which is very centralized. So you find every time a new recommendation comes out, before the government finishes training practitioners at all levels, there's a new recommendation. So we're always running behind. And from my clinical practice, I realized that what we were using in the last recommendation seemed to be working very well. But now you're telling me to come up, to change to something new, because there's a 0.01% added advantage. Is it really worth it, or is it just going to delay practice and delay implementation? So that's what moved me to look at, with all these mixed messages, what are the women really taking? And if they're as hard of learning as I am, does it really trickle down to them? Or are we just coming up with things to say at the next World AIDS conference?
Thank you. So adolescent fertility. The issue is adolescent pregnancies are quite high in Uganda. But what happens to the girls or to the women when they've had a first baby? Do we really care? Have we really tried to go out of our way? Because we see a number of girls come back, and by the time she's 20 years, in the facilities, we've seen them come with a third pregnancy and a fourth. Some of them for the forced section at 19 years. She's showing up that. So that really motivated me, because we know from literature, we castigate them on the first pregnancy, force them into marriage, do all those kind of things. We've seen all that injustice and so many other things around economic, issues. So this is so many factors, but really the core. That is why I am trying to delve into this area to bring to attention the issue of these girls. When they've had the first baby, do we care what happens to them after that? And that's what I really want to bring to the fore for us to know and to be able to begin to design targeted interventions for these women. Or I don't want us to keep leaving them in the dark as they're written off, and that is it. Thank you. And then to Professor Biangisha, thank you so much. The issue of education, yes, is very pertinent. And when we look at when the reductions began to take place after 2000, we know in Uganda that it's around that period that we introduced in the free primary education, UPE, but we also did introduce in the Defilement Act. So we do not know whether those government programs or policies are the ones that have really helped us to significantly reduce this? Or is it just a matter of changes in societal norms and aspirations for the girls? Culture keeps changing, so could it be that? And therefore, in one of my analyses as a next step, we'll be looking at decomposing the factors. And education is one of them. I'll be looking at for the last 20 years to see which of those education or occupation could potentially have changed, or which ones have remained, have stalled, and therefore get some clues therein. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. I will start with the aflatoxin. The samples are being tested for aflatoxin. In terms of the synergy that you're talking about, my understanding is that the logistic regression does control for interaction. And as I mentioned during the presentation, we stratified one by site and also by sex. Because, for example, you might find that men are more likely to drink or to use cigarettes. And so we try to control for that in that way. I can be advised further how to do that.
My motivation for doing this research, we have seen gradual improvement in HIV care, even in our own country. HIV patients are living much longer. We're seeing less of the opportunistic infections. I have an interest in non-communicable diseases, and I'm cognizant of the fact that in our region, Sub-Saharan Africa, we have to also put into account the interplay between infections and the development of NCDs for any major organ, even the heart, even the kidneys. Yeah, so I think that we should be aware that HIV care is evolving, and we should put in mind that we're going to have increasing burdens of other conditions that we didn't have before. And because we are limited in resources in terms of expertise, for example, we have a handful of hepatologists in this country. We don't do liver transplant. We'd have to send people out, and that is based on finances. I think for us our options are still prevention. So if you can strengthen that aspect, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Good session. Now, given that we are behind schedule and people want to have lunch, I think that most questions can, discussions can continue over lunch unless a person has allow for one pressing question. How many hands are up? There's 2 hands up, okay. 2 pressing questions.
My question is not really about the science, but it's about one of the key things that the Delta South Africa program is hoping to achieve, and that's research leadership. And I just want maybe to get a comment on how you feel the Thrive program contributed or is contributing towards your emergence as future research leaders. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your presentations. I just have one comment regarding the response by Dr. Wekesa with regards to the question about how do you interpret, when you have so many of these factors, hepatitis B, tobacco, aflatoxin. Yeah, I would agree with you that logistic repression will control, but these are biological factors, and we have to be a little bit careful with the logistic repression. And considering the fact that you study design, if I'm not mistaken, was cross-sectional, and we talk about cause-effect relationship here. So could you, maybe in future, going forward, think of another study design which will make it possible to tease out those individual factors? Thank you.
Which?
Yeah, I think for this, I will just present interaction terms. You can't adjust for the interactions, and then do some fact analysis. And your outcome of interest seems to be common. Then there is this regression want to be applied. You will think of it. I will give me, I will have that I want to do the decomposition regression one. But remember, you are dealing with repeatedly adolescent spay. Repeatedly adolescent spay. Not just the adolescent spay as single bed. The analysis of the repeated or recurrent is different from the analysis of a single event. We will discuss.
I'll put into the consideration the comments that I've received about the logistic regression. If you don't mind, I will approach you for further discussion. I'm going to respond to the emerging Thrive contribution as an emerging leader. First and foremost, I think the opportunity to conduct research in itself, to give me that experience, to know the operational hurdles or challenges about conducting research, especially in our setting, is one way. And the emphasis on mentorship, having both a local and northern supervisor, that combination with their different strengths and different skills also enhances that. But also the Thrive have taken an extra step to ensure that they equip us with certain skills in form of courses. For example, we had a scientific writing course the other year. We've had coaching and leadership courses. So there's that continuous interaction that they have with us and pressing us to achieve what we have put down on our individual development plans.
Thank you so much. Professor Mahande, thank you so much for that suggestion. I will definitely reach out to you. And then about the research. Now, through Thrive, I have been able to get very competent supervisors who are key experts in that area. Like for example, I'm a clinician by background, and I've not really delved into data analysis, using the packages, and etc. And this is my first interplay with large data sets, population survey data sets. But through Thrive, I was able to be linked to supervisors from London School who are experts at population studies and etc. And so for me, this has been great learning, and along with that, there are so many other resources that I've been able to access through that. Today, I'm a very different scientist, from who I was 2 years ago. And along with that, the courses are very important, very good. We've gone through a number of those courses which really helped to fine-tune me. In 1 week's time, I'll be in London School for another course on adolescent health issues in low and middle-income countries. Now, coming back to my being able to transfer these and mentor other scientists, looking at my topic of interest, that's adolescent fertility, I have been able to share this kind of information, what I'm actually doing for my PhD and my preliminary results with my MPH students. And due to this interaction, I have been able to interest 2 of them in areas similar to what I'm looking at. And one of the MPH students currently is profiling the partners of adolescent girls who are on their second pregnancy when they're still adolescents. A second student is looking at the timing of resumption of sexual intercourse following a first birth and also those following a second birth in adolescents, and then looking at the determinants and contraception use at the point of resuming sexual intercourse among adolescents. So these are 2 emerging MPH specialists who are coming up, and I've been able to, and I'm mentoring them, I am supervising them through this process, and I know they're doing a good job. All the proposals are ready, they are collecting the data. Coming down to secondary school students, I've adopted a school, and I actually am intending to continue to interact with students regarding this area. And one of the things I hope to be able to do is to discuss my results with the students, and then see our secondary school students, female students, what area can we research about regarding adolescent fertility? What are their views? What do they think we should factor in? What kind of answers as students, as adolescents, would they want to see brought forward? Thank you so much. That's a summary of what Thrive is doing and has done so far.
I think my colleague has said a lot about the research leadership, but let me say something. At the beginning, when you enter this fellowship, we were brought together in a research leadership course here in Kampala. And all the things we were taught, but I went with one sentence. Who is a leader? We were taught, first, the leader is yourself. You should be able to lead yourself. How? Being able to organize yourself, plan things, and make sure that they happen within time. And secondly is the ability to lead others. So I can see all the things that have been said in this program are helping us to be leaders. First, by leading ourselves to make sure that what we plan, we organize and make sure that we can lead ourselves. But also the issue of mentorship. It is being followed by professors and other people from Thrive. We really have people we mentor, not MSc and undergrad students. That's what we are doing every day, on an everyday basis. There is issue of community and public engagement, especially with school adoption. All these things, if you can look them closely, you will see that we are taught how to lead other people, right? And lastly is about networking. When we were asked about the research that we applied for the grants and others, this is all about networking and being able to exercise that research leadership skills. I think I should thank you on behalf of my fellows, but also your organization for doing this success so far. Thank you.
I think my fellows have said it all. One small addition I might put is, for the most part, when we assess a program like Thrive, we tend to look very vertically at how it's translated and what the individual has gone on to do. Have they been promoted? Is a common question we ask in every assessment. But there is also what David Maybe and a friend of his would say is a hidden curriculum within Thrive. And in that hidden curriculum is actually the lateral aspect which we don't assess. To be sitting here flanked by professors and upcoming scientists and leaders who probably have never met without Thrive. And this in itself is an inspiration. It's cross-fertilization, and it does show what you can do. And from these gatherings of Thrive, we have networked, and we've actually forged more than official networks, but friendships. And from these we get to refer to each other, and we get to assist each other, and we get to have discussions which do bring us up without being monitored.
Should have started from this side, then I would have something to say. So I'll say as above, and add three things. One is that I've supervised students before, graduate students, and it's only after coming for a PhD that I asked myself, what have I been doing all these years? So this program has opened my eyes, and definitely the quality of work that my students are going to put out is going to be much, much better than what I had before. Secondly, it's given me an opportunity to transition from being a data collector, a co-investigator. You know, we usually think data collectors are, research assistants, low level. But you can be a data collector at all levels. So I would like to thank Thrive for helping me become a principal investigator for the first time. Oh, no, for the second time. For the second time. Yes. So being able to avail me the funds and the logistics, to be able to actually do research now at a much, much higher level. But thirdly, and I think which is the most important, is the collaboration. And I must say that as a result of Thrive, we have been able to put in a request for career development with a colleague from ISTIPE, with a colleague from SCLC, and I am praying that, this is not, I'm not soliciting, but I hope that our request will be funded. Thank you very much.
I think the Thrive community has created a community of accountability for me, and then also a community of inspiration. There are a number of things, but one of the clear ones is during my PhD training, again inspired by Thrive, I went to Lyon in France, that IAC Center, presented some of the work I was doing, and I did it with some excitement. Long story short, wrote a grant. We're doing breast cancer survival in 5 countries, and I'm the PI for the Ugandan site. And I must say that was Thrive inspiration. During the time of Thrive, I've supervised perhaps up to 50 master students, but 15 during the Thrive time. So maybe 25% of my publications have been during the Thrive time, but maybe 30, 40 publications. Written a couple of grants. Some haven't worked, but I've been encouraged that that's what happens. Writing a number at the moment. Supervising PhD students and master students. But also I'm a general surgeon, and in surgery, for some reason, PhDs are not very exciting for people. But now I have 3 threatening to go PhDs in from surgery.
Thank you. I guess one last round of clap, this will close